My guest at this time can be seen every Wednesday night as part of AEW Dynamite. It is the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me here today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Man, so yeah, I got the privilege of spending a part of my day watching this crazy noir mob piece that you were involved in called Swerve. This thing is really slickly done. Talk to me a little bit about what is this project? How did you get involved with it?
Okay, a couple years back, a comic book writer by the name of John Judy contacted me. He knew that I'm, in addition to being a wrestler, I'm also a big comic book fan.
Oh, yeah.
I've been a comic book fan since I was 10 years old. So he let me know. He was like, hey, I've got this comic book that I'm writing. It's coming out from Arcana called Swerve. So he just let me know. He let me know about it. I picked up the first issue and immediately thought it was great. It's about the Texas independent wrestling scene in the 70s. But that's the backdrop. It's more of a crime drama. It's about this young guy coming up who gets involved in drugs and with wrestling as the backdrop. And so I read it's a 6-issue miniseries that came out. So I read all 6 issues. I thought it was great. And that's the last I thought of it. A couple months ago, Sean McCardle, who directed the short that you just watched, he let me know that he was looking to try to adapt the comic book into a film. And so he wanted to make a scene, the opening scene of the actual story, and use that sort of to drum up some interest in hoping to make this a feature film. So when he let me know that this was happening, I called Frankie, I called Sky, I called Eric Watts. I told him that we could help him film the wrestling part of the opening scene. Yeah. And the end result is what you watched, man.
Dude, so wait, so this part, so you say it's a 6 chapter series, right? 6 book series here. This was really small snippets. So is the intention here to do more? Because at the end of this, I felt like I just got a taste. I want more of the cake. Is what I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the opening scene of the first issue of the comic book, and it sort of sets the stage. One of the characters that's in there is one of the main villains in the entire series. Right. But I thought like this was a really cool. When I read this scene in the comic book, I thought it was a really cool setup for the entire story of the series, and the idea of making this sort of the snippet that they show potential investors to try and make this into a feature film. I thought it was a great idea. And Sean did a really good job sort of capturing the feel of the comic book in the short. And, hopefully he finds people that are interested in this. I think the good thing about it is like wrestling is a part of it, but it's not the main part of it. I think there's a great crime story there. There's some great There's some great characters in here that there's some real meat on the bone when it comes to story. And so I think this is something that, if they can find some people that are interested in this sort of story, I think it's going to find a big audience out there.
Dude, and that's the thing is, it's really slickly done, super gritty. I mean, murder, cocaine, strippers. I mean, all of this was thrown in my face here in about a 4-minute period right now. I mean, for you, Chris, I mean, you're at a point in your career now, you're on AEW, you're known, internationally. And I know you're you're not just a comic book fan. You've like been in the comic book business now for a while. You and Frankie had your own comic book series, didn't you? Or have you?
Right. I wrote a couple comic books with Art Baltazar and Franco, the Aw Yeah Comics guys.
Right.
And there's still an issue of that has to come out. But Art and Franco are so busy with their own stuff. We're hoping that it still comes out. But yeah, I mean, I've been involved with comic books. I've had the opportunity to write some stuff. But I'm not as prolific as some of these guys, and certainly not as prolific as John, who wrote the original series. So I tip my hat to those guys that write full series and full on series. That stuff's difficult, and my hat's off to them. I enjoy all their work.
And for you, having the clout that you do now, what is it like for you just to be able to open the door and support more comic book artists, be a part of these projects and things? I mean, I would think for you, as great as all the wrestling stuff is a fan at heart of comic books, get to be a part of all these different projects and stuff has got to mean a lot to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that Sean took it upon himself to try and get this made into a feature film. I think it's great for John and Dexter Weed, the artists of the original series, to sort of get that notoriety. I hope that fans get a chance to see this in a movie theater in the near future. It would be great for John and Dexter to sort of have their work brought to life on the silver screen. And yeah, man, it's just cool. It's cool to see wrestling fans that are also comic book creators sort of put their fandom on the page and then take that fandom and put it on the screen. I think that would be awesome.
How's your AEW boss Tony Khan feel about comic books? Have you guys exchanged stories? I mean, I know
we haven't yet. I don't know what Tony thinks of comics. I'm sure he'd appreciate the stuff that I'm sure he'd appreciate Swerve. He's got a real love for professional wrestling, and like I said, that comic book's got a real gritty 70s Texas feel to it. So I think he'd appreciate that story. But yeah, I don't know if Tony's a comic book guy or not. That would be cool if he was, though.
Yeah,
I'll have to bring some stuff. Bring some trade paperbacks his way.
I feel like it may have come up at this point if he was. I mean, knowing how deep you are into the comic book game. I bring it up because like AEW did like a collaboration with DC Comics like a half year ago, about a year ago at this point.
Yeah, because TNT has ties with Warner Brothers, which also has ties with DC Comics. We did a little bit of a thing, especially because we did our Revolution pay-per-view earlier this year was a part of C2E2, which is the big comic book convention.
Oh yeah,
in Chicago.
I go every year. I go every
year. Yeah. It's great. It was great. And so we had some DC artists. Ramon Villalobos and Howard Porter did some great cover art of some AEW stars. There were some great shots of Cody and Chris Jericho and Nyla Rose, and they did an SCU piece that I really dug. So yeah, it was very cool. And because we've got that tie, we're looking into doing an AEW comic book. I'm sure. I don't think there's been any movement on that just because of so much the stuff that we're doing with the television show right now that takes precedence. But we're always in the market to sort of find new ways to get new fans get their eyes on the AEW product.
Yeah, because I look at like what Kenny Omega's doing with the video game wing at AEW, and I'm like, well, I feel like you should have hardballed the contract. You could be the comic book guy. Same way Kenny.
Yeah, man. I've talked to some of the AEW guys behind the scenes about pursuing stuff with DC Comics, with some other comic creators, some other comic companies. So just whatever comes our way. I'm sure that we're going to find some great wrestling fans that are also comic creators that are going to be part of this, and hopefully we make something great.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, how about talk about the video games here? Really kind of an extension of comics. What did you think of the rollout for the AEW games?
I thought the animation was great. I know Kenny is a hardcore gamer. He knows quality games, and he understands the idea of the video game engines and what makes the engines great and what makes the game great. So, I mean, he's really got a very critical eye when it comes to the people that he works with for the video game. So he's really looking deep into making a quality video game for AEW. And I think it's a matter of time before we put something out that shocked the wrestling world, I think.
Is this going to be your first video game? I don't know if Ring of Honor ever had a game or anything like that.
TNA had a video game that I was in. So I actually did mocap for that game as well. So, I mean, it won't be my first video game, but it'll be a first video game for a lot of guys. And, when you're training to be a pro wrestler, you don't think about these things like video games and action figures and things like that. But when those opportunities come along, it sort of validates all the hard work that you put into the ring. Just the opportunity of being an action figure or being a character in a video game. It's just the cherry on the top of the sundae to be able to do this. And so I look forward to a game for these guys like Jurassic Express and Private Party. These guys that are just getting their first taste of national fame. It'll be cool to see them in video games and to know that like all their hard work sort of come to fruition.
So you go over to the video game, you got the AEW roster. You can't pick yourself. Who's the first person you want to be when you sit down with
definitely Frankie. Frankie's Angry Frankie's going to be the best character in the game. I'm going to try and get a sub game where Frankie blows his stack at potential AEW characters to see how angry he can get at them.
Oh, okay, cool, got it. Wonderful. Just in general, man, these are like your best friends, right? You, Scorpio, and Frankie. What has this last year or so been like for you, man? This ride you've been on with it. I mean, I guess it's almost 2 years now at this point. You've been.
Yeah, it's been 2 years for us. I mean, we
Yeah.
were there at the beginning. So I mean, to see us come into this last full year of television for us has been a wild ride, to be sure. And yeah, the pandemic has sort of steered us in a wacky direction. But the truth is, the fact that we're still going strong, the fact that you know, our ratings are going so well, and she has expressed a lot of support for our company and for our product. It's meant a lot to us, and the it makes us feel good to know that we're on a strong path right now, and that you know, all our cylinders are firing. And hopefully, once this pandemic is over and we're back in front of a live audience around the country, we're definitely looking forward to bringing the game back in front of fans, because that's really the best way to enjoy this wrestling, is in front of the fans. You know, it's hard to appreciate it until you're not there. But yeah, the first couple of months where we were in front of live full arenas, man, I miss those days.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like, you know, one of the big things about AEW, obviously you SCU, former tag team champions and things like that. But I mean, the tag team division in AEW has just exploded, man. I mean, you look at the depth of that. I mean, what's your take on the way AEW has really embraced tag team wrestling, and what the current state of the division is at the moment?
I think it's awesome. I mean, you know, I sort of knew that was the way it was going to be, having the Young Bucks being EVPs. They were going to focus on the tag team division. And I think in the last couple of months, especially with the arrival of FTR, I have to say, like, I personally feel like those guys are they're one of the best teams in the world. And you know, their past match with the Bucks at the last pay-per-view was just amazing. And I think Dax and Dash, they're great. You know what I mean? I'm big fans of their work. I'm big fans of their work ethic. And you know, that's just two of the guys. That's just two of the teams, like you said, in a full roster. In addition to me and Frankie, in addition to Jurassic Express, Private Party, Best Friends, who I also think are great. It's just a full boat, man, and it's an embarrassment of riches for AEW, their tag team division.
And so, what about you, Chris? I mean, like, what ambitions do you have left? I mean, you've kind of you're one of those guys that's kind of seen and done it all at this point. I mean, would you like one more big world title run? Is that something you'd like to see in your future, or tag team wrestling?
I absolutely would love an opportunity to be AEW tag team champions with Frankie. You know, I think that if I went through AEW, if I was at the start of AEW and I didn't have an opportunity to be a champion of some sort, I'd be disappointed. But I'm also very realistic about my chances at this point. I feel like there's again, such a loaded roster of guys, and we're all fighting for that opportunity to be on Dynamite, to be a champion. You know, the odds look long, but at the same time, I'm not giving up. I've said it before. These aren't my best days, but they're not my last days either. And so it's just a matter of time before I get an opportunity. And, you know, if everything falls my way, I'll have some gold around my waist, me and Frankie.
Sure. And with next steps with you, you know, I mean, I've heard that you are somebody that a lot of the guys backstage go to, talk to. I mean, I don't know if you want to open up a little bit about, you know, how your backstage role has kind of evolved with your time in AEW as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the guys, in addition to being a wrestler, I'm also one of the guys behind the scenes that's sort of trying to guide the younger talent, give them the benefit of my experience in television wrestling. And so, yeah, there are guys, you know, people like Private Party and Sunny Kiss and Jurassic Express that I try to give advice to when I can. But I mean, I'm just one of many. There's a lot of guys behind the scenes, especially guys like Jerry Lynn, Dean Malenko, Colt Cabana. These are all guys that are also helping the younger talent sort of come into their own. And so there's no lack of guys that are trying to help the roster sort of come into their own when it comes to television, when it comes to the wrestling scene. And I'm just happy to be a part of that crew. It warms my heart to know that people respect my opinion enough to want my input, to want my opinion on their work.
Yeah.
And I try to give the benefit, like I said, the benefit of my experience. I try to build them up and hopefully have them avoid the mistakes that I made coming up, and just become more well-rounded wrestlers overall.
What do you, as an example, you want to give an example of a mistake you feel you made that you warn others against, kind of deal?
Honestly, it's literally just about making stuff important. I go back and watch a lot of the stuff that I did back in the day, and it was a lot of wrestling just to show that I could wrestle. And I realized like that sort of stuff is it's sort of pointless, not pointless, but I mean, it's just a waste. I don't want these guys like, there's a finite amount of bumps that we can all take as human beings. And I don't want these guys wasting bumps and falling down and potentially risking injury just to show that they can do something cool. And, I try to tell these guys, make all these things important, make these things important. They're only as important as you make them. And if you act like it's no big deal, then fans, they're going to act like it's no big deal as well. But I mean, the things that you deem important, the fans are going to feel are also important. So I try to express that to them so that they understand, the more you make something mean, it's going to mean that much more to the wrestling fan.
You're an interesting guy, Chris, because like you were with Impact, I believe, when they went head to head with WWE on Monday nights with Hogan and everything, right?
I was. Yep, I was.
How does this right? Because you guys didn't choose it last time. TNA kind of picked the fight. This time the fight kind of came to AEW. I mean, how does the atmosphere differ, in AEW this time around to the last time you were kind of in a situation like this?
Honestly, like you said, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. We didn't come looking for any sort of fight. We picked a night to be on television. WWE decided to have their own show on that same night, so they sort of made the playing field the way it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, our main goal isn't counter programming. Our main goal is to put the best product that we can put out there.
Right.
And so that's always been our main focus. And I feel like our fan base has sort of followed that, and they're the ratings sort of speak for themselves. We've been very fortunate to have a bigger audience than the WWE for a majority of the time.
Yeah.
And as long as we concentrate on putting out great wrestling, I feel like that's going to benefit us. The minute we start thinking, oh, we need to do this to beat them, that's not our goal. Our goal is to just prosper on our own and never mind what's on the television on other channels, whether it's WWE or reality television or whatever's on. I don't care. It's as long as we're doing well, that's the important thing for us and for our company.
Well, last thing, back to Swerve here. I couldn't help when I was watching Swerve to think to myself about like the cinematic style that has become popular here, especially during the pandemic. I think out of kind of necessity. What do you think of that? And I mean, this is a really unique style. Would you ever be interested in AEW kind of pushing it as far as you guys do here in the Swerve short?
I don't know if that would fit. I feel like the cinematic match really lends itself better to certain characters. I don't think everybody is made for the cinematic match. I feel like, for example, Matt Hardy doing the Elite Deletion just recently, his character was sort of made for that sort of cinematic approach. And I don't know, I don't know if like I myself personally would be up to do a cinematic match. I'm not sure. There would have to be a different situation for a cinematic match to work with Christopher Daniels than it does for Matt Hardy. So I mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't be done. I just think, like, off the top of my head, I don't see a scenario where it would make sense for me to be in a cinematic match. But having said that, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, like you said, because of the pandemic, I feel like, you know, we're trying to find different ways to sort of put across our product, and the cinematic match has worked for us a couple times, and it's worked for them a couple times as well. You know, who knows how it's going to progress. I feel like that's one of the great things about pro wrestling is that, you know, people are finding new ways to sort of express their characters. And, you know, Matt, like I said, is a perfect example of it. He found a way to sort of express his character with this style of match.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Matt Hardy, he already seems like he's possessed by a demon. And I mean, you know, if he needed a good priest or fallen angel or something to come exorcise the demon, I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah, I feel like there's Ryzen is already in that spot as uh, the robed priest type, so I might have to fight Ryzen for my own spot.
oh, okay. Well, you know, that's good. Could be like a bunch of like ghosts and stuff swirling over the ring.
Sure.
Real unique comic book stuff, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, I'm really happy for you, man. You seem like you're having a blast. You're getting to do, yeah. How, you know, I guess to kind of put a button in all this thing, you know, one of the things that has been like a huge buzzy topic here the past couple months is like pro wrestlers having their independence to even kind of get to do outside projects like what you get to do with Swerve. How important is it for you to be able to do that? And how important do you think it is to allow the wrestling community as a whole to continue to be able to get to kind of define themselves outside of their companies, I guess?
Well, I feel like in the end, I think it's about making the talent happy. I mean, I'm happy, sort of stretching my acting muscles. Yeah, I feel like, you know, it's healthy for us to be able to sort of do stuff outside of the wrestling bubble. You know, I have a background in theater, and so I try to act and audition for stuff, living on the West Coast as I do.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it's, you know, it gives me a chance to sort of cleanse my palate and do something different. And if you're sort of stretching those muscles that you don't use very often, you're gonna be a better performer overall. You know, getting the opportunity to audition for stuff, I personally feel has helped me in my presentation for wrestling as well. Just understanding what reads better, what registers better. It helps me tell my stories as a wrestler to be able to sort of rely on my acting background, and the more that I can stretch those acting muscles, I feel it makes me a better performer. So yeah, I feel like it's better for the wrestler overall to be able to express himself in different ways, and it sort of keeps his sanity too. You know, if everything is just wrestling, if you've got that tunnel vision, you can sort of lose the sight of the big picture.
So wait, are you allowed to just go out and accept your own auditions, and you don't need AEW approval to go out and audition for commercials and movies and things like that? Or is there a process?
Well, I certainly have to, you know, I can audition for stuff, but I certainly have to submit that schedule to AEW. Like I'm not gonna take a gig that starts filming at 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So
I got it. Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, like, I'm interested in letting the guys sort of explore their outside interests.
Yeah.
I'm not in. I don't believe in squashing creativity just because. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of these guys are AEW talents, but I want them to express themselves outside, and hopefully, if they can get more people involved with their outside projects, they bring more eyes to the AEW product in the end. And, you know, I feel like that benefits everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. All right. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Where do you want to send people to find Swerve, support it, support you, all those great things?
Well, honestly, check my Twitter at FAC Daniels. When I posted the original video of the Swerve, like I feel like Sean McCardle is the guy to sort of follow right now. He's the guy who directed the short and is working to try to get that done. So I don't have his Twitter handle off the top of my head, but I know it's in the original the post. So go to my Twitter at FAC Daniels. You'll be able to find it, and you should be able to find the information on the actual short itself on YouTube. So yeah, hopefully, like I said, more eyes get on this, and if Sean can convince some folks to put a little money behind it, we could be seeing Swerve in a motion theater or a motion picture studio in the near future.